Quiet moments, the city lights. Every story earns its right. No filters, no favors, just the truth all day long. This is the pulse of Jonesboro.
Welcome to the Pulse of Jonesboro. I'm Jeremy Terrell, and I'm your host. And we have a special guest today, and this is Matt Daniel. And Matt Daniel and we met yesterday. And for all of you that are paying attention and following the Pulse of Jonesboro, you know we have a situation going on within our town. And some people are talking about, well, this is maybe not that serious. And then there's a large majority of you guys that are concerned and want answers. I believe that Matt is one of those guys that can give us some of those answers. If nothing else, give us his perspective on what he believes has been transpiring over the last few years. He has some understanding because he was in some of these organizations and interacting. So I'd like to welcome Matt. And, Matt,
Thank you.
Matt and I went to school together. He's a couple years younger than I am. I have spent a ton of time with his dad over the years. I was on the Jonesboro School Board. He was the AD there. Great. The Daniels are unbelievable family. And just a pleasure to have you on. So do me a quick favor.
Okay.
Just introduce yourself. Tell me a little bit about yourself and kind of your quick history of Jonesboro, and then we'll kind of jump into some other stuff.
It's funny you mentioned that. I've learned a lot over the last probably year and a half about city government. So at the council meetings, I learned that you have to state your name and your address. Some people have, some people haven't. Like there's a guy there the other night that did not.
Yeah, that was interesting. A few people caught that, and not everybody did, but I'm proud you caught that.
So I'm used to listening to those addresses. And then I was at the Public Services and Park Advisory Board meeting on Tuesday before the city council meeting. I went to that meeting. I didn't go to the city council meeting, and they were going around doing titles. So I'm learning all that. So when I did speak at that meeting briefly, I said civilian. That was my title there.
Right.
So my name is Matt Daniel. I'm a longtime college coach. I coached a year of high school from the city of Jonesboro. Been all over the country traveling. Ultimately chose to come back home and raise our family here because we believe in this place. We love this place.
This is home.
It's home.
Yep, I get it. Yeah, you just briefly, where did you play college ball?
So I started out at the University of Colorado, and then I ended up transferring back closer to home and finished at Harding University. And then once I did there, I started my graduate assistantship at Arizona State with Rob Evans, who was at Ole Miss and went to Arizona State, and then got into coaching that way.
Yeah.
So,
anyways, I think coaching maybe brought you back to Jonesboro, or?
No, actually, no. So what brought me back to Jonesboro is we wanted to get back closer to family. We started having a family. Both of our daughters, my wife and I's daughters, Steele and Brett, were born in Huntington, West Virginia, when I was coaching at Marshall, and as you have a family, you understand this.
Absolutely.
Things evolve and priorities change and things of that nature. And
home has a tendency to call when kids get involved.
So I actually decided to take a step back, get out of coaching, because we were presented an opportunity with Jennifer's employment. She's a dentist, and we had a private practice out there. The company bought that practice out, brought us back to Highland, Ash Flat, where she was an associate when she was coming up. And then we ended up moving there. And then when I took the job at Arkansas State, which was not the intent whenever I moved back, then we moved back to Jonesboro, and now she practices here. And I was there, I think it was 2.5 seasons. I can't remember exactly the time frame. I'll be 50 on Monday, so my memory maybe you can relate.
That's right. That's right.
But to be clear, you're 52.
That's right.
Okay, I just want to make that clear.
In just a couple of months.
So now I Uber drive the girls. Mm-hmm. You know, getting out of coaching, I went from managing my family to raising my daughters.
Yeah.
And my wife thinks when I left Marshall and got out of coaching so that we could move our family home, she thought it was the manliest thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
And while it it was hard for me to do that because it's the only thing I'd ever known. It was a simple decision because it was for my family.
Right.
And so I was happy to do that. And so now I do some consulting. I play around. I consult in the NBA, in an NBA organization. I consult with some businesses locally. Just mess around, trying to help good people with hard stuff.
There you go. There you go. So, I reached out to you a couple weeks ago, and one of the reasons why I did is because, when you're doing what I'm doing, you really look for people and avenues that you feel like you can trust. Your dad and I have a pretty good relationship. We always don't agree, but his heart's always in the right spot. And so I thought, you know what, let me get Matt's perspective on things.
Mm-hmm.
You reached out to me and decided that, I think that this is the right thing. So tell me why you agreed to do an interview.
So a couple of things to clarify that. You did reach out to me, and I just kind of waved and said ha ha and kind of laughed it off because it's not something I was really looking to do.
Right.
And you have a business to run and a perspective, and as you know, our perspectives don't always align. Our
Right.
approach is not always the same. But the reason that I decided to move forward with this because of the platform that you do have, because we can have a conversation. And that's one of the things that I struggle with, like with government, like understanding and learning. There's never just a simple, plain Q&A conversation. It ends up with, you have to be on an agenda, or then you have to go to public comments, but there's no back and forth of like just plain, let's just have a normal conversation and understanding. The second part of that is, I felt like I can't stand texting. I can't stand things in writing because you can't tell tone, and it's
Right.
all open to interpretation.
That's right. No intentions.
So
The intentions and the tone is up to the person reading it.
100%.
And, usually we get it wrong that way.
and obviously mistakes can be made that way.
Yeah.
Clearly, I think that's evident.
Yeah.
So I was, when my name was brought up at the city council meeting, I was kind of taken back by that.
I was shocked. I'll tell you, I was kind of thrown back as well.
Which is okay. That's okay. The mayor is in a tough spot. I recognize that. I've been a leader of many organizations.
Right.
I'm not mad about that. I'm not upset. I'm not disheartened by my name being mentioned. I'm not that at all. I was just, of all the things that have transpired from all the people.
Right.
And he referenced my resignation letter from the executive director role. I didn't mention one person's name. I'm not sure that I mentioned any titles.
Right.
And actually that was intentional, out of respect for the officials that we have in place, for the positions, even if not the person, for the positions that we have in place. I voted for the mayor, for this sitting mayor I voted for. But I respect the authority of the office, or what I perceive the authority to be.
Right. Right.
And so, but that being said, while I'm not upset and I'm not, so I am passionate. And so sometimes I speak with my coaches, speak with their hands, hey, get over there and down screen over here.
Right.
And, so I understand that sometimes my actions or my tone can be demonstrative. So if I do that today, it's not intentional. I actually want to be the opposite, because this matter is so important to the future of our city but I want the full disclaimer of, I'm aware of that. So I'm not upset. I'm not any of that.
Right.
I'm just passionate about what we do, and I'm an all-in guy.
Yeah.
So that's to clear that up.
I think that you're a perfect person for this, and to give kind of an understanding, because some of our comments we're getting, what is going on? What is City Stars? What is Revolution? Can you give us just an overview of what Revolution is, or was?
Yeah. I guess it's open to my interpretation.
Correct.
Okay. So Revolution is a subsidiary of the 501c3. I believe the C goes before 3. But don't get me on any technicalities today. I just want to have a normal conversation. I'm a civilian.
That's right.
So, of City Stars, okay? City Stars is a program that has separate accounting, but services the city's agenda and objective for some specific sports, not all sports. I believe those to be, but again, don't hold me to this, soccer, basketball, and maybe volleyball. I don't know the answer to that for certain.
I think you're right. And I'm not 100% sure about football.
So it is run by city employees and at the behest of the city.
Right.
So the city and the 501c3 of City Stars and Revolution have different accounts, private, public. But the city is the administrator officially of a contract that doesn't exist anymore, by the way.
Right.
There is no contract. I think everybody agrees with that for whatever reason.
And it's been a while since they've had it.
Quite some time.
Yeah.
And while that's unfortunate, it's okay to me. We can fix it, or we could have fixed it.
Right.
I'm not saying, let's say that the city is not City Stars. They're not the same. And I say this in my statement, and I think that I should read this at some point because I think there's some clarification, because my name was mentioned and the words that I said, that not exactly,
Right.
they're my words, so I felt like it was an obligation to give them their due diligence.
Yeah.
And I think at minimum the city is the program's caretaker,
Right.
at minimum.
Yeah.
Whether there's a legal issue, not a legal issue, none of that. And so at minimum, it's the caretaker of those specific sports. And that was the objective of that.
Right.
City Stars was to provide no cost, athletics, recreation, whatever you want we're talking about youth sport,
Right.
to the city of Jonesboro. And it was specifically, I believe, started for those sports, and maybe only 2 of those sports. I can't really remember. I heard this the other day in the public services and the Park Advisory Board. So that's my understanding of what it is.
Yeah. So just to clarify, to make sure, city's got its own budget. City Stars has its own budget. Revolution has its own budget, and the money flew from the city to City Stars to Revolution. Pretty much as far as the counting goes.
I think so.
Okay. Mixed with some other donations and other things and
Yeah.
parents and all that good stuff. So, okay. So I really believe, let's just go ahead and let you dive into this and read a little bit, and then we'll continue, and I'll ask some more questions. But let's just give you the opportunity to read what you've got here.
So a couple of things. The mayor mentioned the other night that the binder that was distributed, which I haven't looked through, by the way, warranted review, and so he reviewed it. And the things he disputed, the name that was mentioned was mine,
Right.
and it referenced this resignation letter. And he stated that I had some incorrect beliefs. I mean, they're my beliefs, whether they're correct or not.
Right.
And he didn't refute anything else in that binder that anybody else had said.
Right.
So, but to give you some context, I did make some clips, like I marked some time things because I didn't want you to have to go find it too much. Mm-hmm. Like there's time frames in this from 21:30 at the 21:30 mark to the 22 mark. There's 30 seconds in there that I think are important. But he wanted to confirm any misperceptions or misunderstandings.
Right.
Okay. So, but one of the things you've asked me is, how did I get here?
Right.
Here it is. I won't read all of this because some of this are things about me and why I chose to do this, and this is not about me.
Right.
I don't have any kids in youth sports anymore. I have one girl that's involved. She has one more year of elementary school basketball. Now, it just so happens that runs through City Stars, which is now the city,
Right.
but wasn't the city, but run by the city employees.
Yeah.
Okay.
Signed up through the schools.
I don't actually know.
Promoted through the schools.
I actually don't know the answer to that. So, anyway, I was brought on in early January to help move the club forward in a few areas and ultimately build a more healthy and thriving process for the youth in our community through soccer, and to do it expeditiously. Now, these are my words. I didn't have anybody prepare these. These are my words.
Okay.
And I usually, when I speak, I don't prepare anything. I did for the park services and public services and the park advisory board meeting the other day, because this is a different type of speaking. But I typically, when I speak, I'm just speaking.
Right.
We're just having a conversation. But I wrote these myself. So skip over some stuff. In an effort to be transparent, I think it is important to lay out both what we have and have not been able to accomplish with the help of the board in our various relationships throughout the Southeast over the last 3.5 months. So just 3.5 months of my official time. Facilities. I've asked about getting the fields mowed down to a more soccer surface, typically somewhere between 1/2 to 1 inch, which is a playing surface.
Right.
I was informed the city didn't own a mower that mowed lower than 1.5 inches. So here's what we did. We leveraged personal relationships and found out the best in our region was Lads out of Memphis. Okay. They have a performance grass turf division and have experts in the field that include professional sport backgrounds and so forth. We brought them up, walked the grass at Joe Mack, and got a quote. The quote included fixing every grass surface, stripping it down, and starting over from scratch. Would be a 6-week process start to finish. The quote was for just under $400,000. This includes 2 new mowers for the club. They wanted to start early May, and it would be ready in time for fall practice and playing seasons. We went and secured the funding through another entity, all $400,000. However, we didn't accept the money without feeling comfortable where it was going to be managed and maintained properly. For example, this was the intent by that. If we go fix this, but we're not going to maintain it, we're just throwing bad money at it.
Right.
So otherwise you're just spending, I just literally said that. Otherwise you're just spending bad money and we feel an overwhelming sense of responsibility to be good stewards of the money. No legal obligation, we just felt it.
Right.
During our initial meeting in January, we also offered to oversee the maintenance of the facility, much like baseball boosters and other soccer programs around the Mid-South. The yearly financial report shows a line item that we rent the facility for $27,500 per year. Okay. Again, I'm not certain how that works or who writes that check to where. Baseball boosters, I've learned this, write their check to the city of Jonesboro. Our number was shown on the City Stars financial, but I guess they could never find if there was a check ever written, where that check went, which is some of the rub. Some, not all. Because again, this is soccer. I don't believe, Jeremy, that this is just a soccer issue. Soccer is just the sport that had a board that got a peek behind the curtain.
Right.
And before I came along, I was just kind of helped to try and, what do we do now?
Right.
Where we are, knowing what we know, how do we get this forward? So I'm not even sure that this is just a City Stars issue, okay? I'm not even sure that this is just a sports issue. I'm not even sure that this is just a one department issue. So I want to be clear on that. I was just tasked with soccer.
Right.
We did offer to lease the facility outright and take over scheduling to accommodate the needs of all programs that involve turf and grass fields so that we could ensure it properly maintained and scheduled so the city could focus on the park side of things, okay? For example, I believe Jonesboro Boosters writes a check to the city of Jonesboro, not City Stars, for, say it's March to October, and they control what goes on in that through scheduling.
Right.
Third-party vendors, which Jonesboro Booster Clubs, technically to me, is a third-party vendor.
Right.
Right? But I don't understand why. Here's what I don't know. Why didn't, when we initially did this, and we'll never know the answer to this, why wasn't baseball covered under City Stars? Or why wasn't softball covered under City Stars? Or I have no idea the reason for that, and that's okay. But it's also okay to, even if nothing is going on, to evaluate and evolve. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I'm going to let you finish, and then I'm going to give you my perspective on why I believe that is the
All right,
case.
I'm working on that. Lastly, we had initial discussions and progress towards a new indoor facility that would house 2 fields, much like the turf. We feel pretty confident, and confidence I heard, and I use it here. In the last 3 council or that public services committee, I've heard the word confidence 3 times. Nobody walks into a deal and says, I don't feel very confident we can do this.
Right.
We feel pretty confident this could happen, and that project would cost somewhere between $5 and $6 million. We were pretty confident $5 and $6 million. Programming events. City Stars is the primary youth sports programmer for the city.
Yep.
For the city, because the others are serviced in other ways. Maybe softball's not. I don't really know how they work, but it's the primary.
Right.
Although it may not be run through the city, at a minimum, the city is certainly its caretaker. You can go ahead if you want to before I read.
No,
keep going. Okay.
Keep going.
All right. Okay. This is important right here. To me, we offer to take over all soccer programming for the city. Okay?
Which is no different than baseball, probably softball, and some other stuff. So let's just make sure that everybody understands that. So it's no different than currently right now what is happening with baseball at the least. So
Okay. Most importantly, junior high soccer to us, because being a Revolution Board, junior high soccer is closer to competitive soccer.
right.
This is not a AAA or school-sponsored sport. This is run through the city or City Star, however minutia you want to go through that.
That's right.
However muddy you want to make that. This is also run by the city. That's what I said. City Stars, technicality, whatever you want to do.
Everybody that works for City Stars is an employee of the city.
Correct. Its schedule conflicts with competitive soccer season. We don't want kids to have to make a choice. We want them to be able to do both, because the competitive soccer circuit is more competitive than the junior high soccer circuit. Now, there's some teams that have 6th graders on them,
Right.
which is okay.
Yeah.
But we wanted to be able to meet both. So, because some people would choose junior high because it was school-based over competitive, we wanted them to be able to do both.
Right.
And we tried to work scheduling-wise with the city.
And that truly grows the
Which is
soccer in Northeast Arkansas.
which is the intent behind all of this.
Right.
We also offer to oversee City Stars and help their current staff. So you mentioned the programmer earlier, the soccer programmer. Man, he's a worker. He's got a good heart. He cares about the city. To help provide a more meaningful and development foundation for the city, different in format, but under the same pretenses of our development academy, where we have properly certified coaches. We have all those things, right? Which that does cost money.
Right.
That had more than 120 kids this spring and over 100 kids in the fall after existence for less than 1 year. So we were growing it. While we didn't necessarily need or want this inheritance, we didn't need or necessarily want it because we were the competitive side. We were willing to help and be good partners with the city and its current staff to help lighten their load. Public service, schools, government, all the things, overworked and underpaid,
Right.
right? And I can talk about that structure later of things that I've learned about government, and I'm ready to be the thermostat and not the thermometer.
Yeah.
I'm ready to set the temperature, not check the temperature. That's just who I am. So, budget. And this is where the clips from 2130 to 22, this is where my name is mentioned. Yeah. At the 1925 mark, when he talks about the City Stars document, the original agreement, he references that it was originally led and meant to be led by a city employee. And he names the guy, I don't know the name, or remember the name, originally led by a city employee. So that was okay. To be in charge of City Stars and their budget and all that was all right. While I have operated many athletic budgets over the years, I don't know exactly how this particular budget process works within the framework of how the club is set up. I believe Revolution is under the City Stars umbrella, and I don't know the accounting practices or how things get earmarked for or accounted for. I do know the umbrella for certain. I don't know the umbrella for certain, but I'm sure someone more qualified in accounting and the city officials have that figured out. So I'm sure they got it. I just don't know it. I do know we are not in charge of our budgetary accounting or purchases. I dealt with that specifically, not to get into the specifics, but I dealt with that. I couldn't go buy nets. I tried to buy nets, and they said, we'll have to talk about your budget. I was like, what budget? So this is a line that the mayor said when he said my incorrect beliefs. I do know our staff and coaches' checks come from the City Stars account, and I do believe the budget is controlled by city employees. He doesn't say the word employees. He says by the city. I say city employees. You can look at his 2130 to 22 where it says my incorrect beliefs, and he says that. Well, in his previous statement, he said it was meant to be led by city employees.
Right. I mean, before that.
Right. I believe that it was still done that, and I still believe that it was led by our parks director. It's a city employee.
Right.
No matter how you want to slice it, well, not in that role, he's not a city employee. Well, one, we just said that he was, that it was meant to be led by a city employee. And two, no matter what his other role is, it's just muddy.
Let me ask you a quick question. I don't know the answer. How many times did you meet with Danny? Just a rough estimate.
I think I was in one. I can remember one. I actually tried to meet with Danny. So another programmer, and I can talk about him in a minute, who's over basketball, and maybe he may be over volleyball too, loves the city. He's got a golden heart, right? We don't align with approach necessarily. I actually, a few years ago, wanted to meet to try and help the city elementary programs basketball, because I'm typically a basketball guy, typically. I'm certainly not a soccer guy,
Right.
but my oldest loves it, so whatever. Every other school in the elementary programs are wearing really nice uniforms. And the Jonesboro schools of Jonesboro and Nettleton were wearing reversible jerseys. So I offered to help raise money for those two schools to have nicer jerseys so that amongst their peers, they don't feel differently.
Right.
Now, I'm a girl dad, specifically girls, but I would help, raising money for kids.
Right.
I would have. So, and then I was gonna even ask the money that to help offset some of that, the money that we spend on those reversible jerseys, let's not spend it on those, and let's put it towards a different jersey to offset the fundraising number. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Meeting never happened. It was set up, supposed to be there. The programmer was there, and he was there with me. I never got a reply, I never got an apology, none of that. That's okay. But it made me think of that when you said that how many times. It was very few. That was intentional on my part, because one of the things that I agree, I wanted to know who I reported to.
Right.
I wanted to report to certain people because I didn't have a good vibe. And so I reported to the board.
What time, let me ask this question, and this is just, I think people can get why I'm asking this question, but what times during the day were the meetings that you did have, the one or two, and then the meetings that you were supposed to have?
So the meeting I was supposed to have over the City Stars basketball, it was the middle of the day. I know it was the middle of the day because he got caught up, I believe, and I believe this to be true, by the way. The parks director got caught up in the weekly mayor meeting that went a little bit long. Happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
We never rescheduled, none of that.
Yeah.
So the other meeting was a board meeting that he was in attendance at when I was first brought on as the executive director, and it was after business hours.
Okay. So the reason why I ask is because I believe, and I believe that the history shows that there was a massive amount of time on the clock for the city given to City Stars. And again, that's the reason why I say that is because that's just another perspective of why everybody thought that this, for a long time, that this was a city organization. And I think the blurred lines, which I talked a little bit about on the podcast, but the blurred lines of having a full-time city employee actually running the City Stars program in this, because the problem that exists. And I think that you started to realize this, the blurred lines are so blurred that nobody really understood what was happening in many aspects of what was going on. So,
Well, I'm actually confused, and I don't know if you're going to ask. There are a lot of things that I'm confused about as a normal citizen, but I also have a little bit of an insight. For example, my paycheck, I was a paid position, okay? Jennifer and I, we were actually excited because after we met with the city on the proposal, and they said, yeah, let's figure out how to do it 2 weeks.
who'd you meet with?
We met with the city officials.
It's interesting.
Well, I'll get to the proposal in a minute. The only reason we created the proposal,
But you met with the city officials. You didn't meet with City Stars.
no,
Okay.
no.
Interesting.
But don't get caught up in that. I mean, that's
my
Yeah.
bag. Let me keep it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
That's where we may be different on the alignment. I'll tell you, I'll get to that why in a minute. So here's my confusion. I was basically an independent contractor that I guess is 1099, I guess. I was given keys to the facility. The old Y, whatever they call it now. The gate at Joe Mack. I just thought that's what we did. Because
Right.
come on, man. My paycheck, we were excited after the meeting with the city. That's where I got off track because you tried to throw me a curveball. Jennifer and I were going to take my paycheck and we were going to reinvest it, like I mentioned.
Yeah.
Put it on the practice jerseys or whatever. I don't really remember what the numbers were or whatever, but we were just going to throw it back into the program. Not her company, us.
Right.
Like I said. So, but we were paid in arrears, okay? And I don't want to go on the record of 100%. I'm pretty sure, but with all these technicalities right now and this being so legal, and when I was done, we had a conversation, my wife and I, about, well, the city still owes you a check. And I said, sweetheart, they're going to have to keep that check. I'm not going back up there.
Right.
This was before any indictment. This was a year ago,
Yeah.
almost a year ago now.
Right.
Don't worry about that. I'm sorry. We worked for free that 2-week pay period.
Right.
Our checks were left in like a wall envelope, in the Parks and Rec's office. It's just confusing
Very.
at best.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, I have a lot of questions. I did ask these questions in an early January meeting to the people of highest positions. That's the closest thing I do to get an understanding to the club, to help the club be healthy and also show that we were taking a serious approach to being a partner with the city. Partner. Not taking over, not partner. After over 3 months of waiting, I haven't been able to get those answers, so I'm not sure where that stands. It is my understanding that the board has been asking the city for clarity on this for some years now. I did not want to have any sort of budget meeting of the financial status of the club without understanding of its practices from those in place to show the process transparently. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Funding. Given we didn't know the true operating budget, we made a proposal to the city to help us figure out how to fund a program with the ask of $500,000. This is another place where in that 30 seconds where the mayor references my grammar. A large portion, they were already committing to facility programming and staffing. I believe, I'm not saying he did, but I believe he said it was actually zero. Okay? So I want you to think about this. Large portion, that's subjective. Okay? Portion is subjective. $5,000 to you, maybe not large. $5,000 to me is a lot of money.
Right.
Large is subjective.
Right.
Zero is not. The number zero is not subjective.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Okay. So, one of the things, including staffing, programming,
Right.
I was so willing to work with the programmer. I like the programmer in both actually basketball and soccer a lot, which they may be the only two programmers for City Stars. I have no idea.
Right.
We were willing.
Which is, again, sorry to interrupt you, but which is, they're full-time paid employees by the city.
Okay, therein lies the deal. To help us figure out how to fund a program with the ask of $500, they were already committing to staffing.
Right.
So it's certainly not zero.
Right.
We can end it right there.
So, not to interrupt you too much, but where was that $500,000 coming from in your
I'm gonna get to that.
perspective? Okay.
Again, they were already spending a portion of that money, so I didn't use large there. We just wanted to have budgetary control over it. Okay?
Right.
On January 8th, we were told by the city to give them a couple weeks. As of April 23rd, we don't have that answer. However, that didn't stop us from reaching out to the other partners and securing the funding to supplement whatever the city would do, if anything.
Right.
We didn't assume they would do anything. This is what people don't know. We were asked to give them a proposal. We were asked to come up with a number. We had no idea what they would do or how it would work. We wanted their experience based on Jonesboro baseball boosters. We wanted to parallel with stuff like that.
Do you know who specifically asked for this information?
I can't remember all that. I can't remember all that.
City?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I never met with Danny on any of this.
Stuff. Gotcha.
But we had already secured, we already went and got the 500. We were just hoping they would not even tell us that this is the way. Okay, we can't do this, but you guys have a board of volunteers that are clearly passionate about it. You're working at it. We can do this. I'll equate it to NCAA compliance offices on a college campus, because that is something I can really relate to. And I used to do this all the time. Compliance officers get the bad rap of being the bearer of bad news. All they do is say no.
Right.
So, and I do this with people now. I'm an optimistic, forward thinker. Okay, I understand this may be no. Tell me what we can do.
Right. 100%.
Tell me how we can do this. Well, let's use this model. So the mayor actually, we were trying to put ourselves in the position to be the new version of baseball boosters, or the new and improved, the evaluation and evolution of a new City Stars partner. Okay? Because here's what I will tell you, whether there are legal issues or not legal issues, okay? If you and I are let's don't do that. If my wife and I are dating, if we're married and I'm abusive, or I'm doing stuff that she doesn't align with, what do? You break the contract.
Yeah.
Okay? What if there is no contract?
What do you break?
You just break up.
You just walk away. Right.
So aside from any legality issues, just teach us your leadership and your experience. Just tell us how we do make it work. It doesn't have to be public funding, but also they asked for the proposal, they asked for a number, 2 weeks, let's rock. Here's the other thing with that. You don't walk into a fundraising meeting or an educational meeting and say, would you like to participate? But only at this level, because we got all we need. You don't do that.
Right.
Why would you only ask for 100,000 when you might get 300,000? We didn't know. We didn't care that it was public. We wanted to set up the same way. Teach us how to do what City Stars did 20 whatever years ago. Teach us. We knew they had knowledge of we assumed they had knowledge of the structure, and they knew how they were doing it. And does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that was, now you understand the conviction and you can see my body language. We were operating in good faith, man. At the behest of the city.
Right.
So, okay. However, that didn't stop us. We got the partners. We took over. We didn't need City Stars. We were offering to lighten the load. We got a supplemental funding plan, but without knowing what the city was willing to work with us on, we felt we would be accepting bad money again, and without control, we weren't confident. I actually weren't confident in how the money would be earmarked. We had started contract negotiations with uniform companies to provide a point gathering system so we could provide warm-ups, backpacks, and other types of equipment for both players and coaches. All of this was in an effort to not significantly raise dues and know where the money was going to be allocated and so forth. So I think this is important. City Stars was established for no cost, okay? And it specifically references, or the mayor did the other night, participation and concessions. Doesn't mention gate. And I was actually talking to, Matt Modeleski and I, we've worked together for now over a year of just like brainstorming, how do you fix this? What would we do? Thought partners on what would you do with government structure? I don't see a box. I'm not an out of the box thinker. I don't see a box. I'm just thermostat, not thermometer.
Right.
Do things that don't ever be done. And I have some thoughts on city structure, and I think our employees are underpaid. I think our mayor's position is an underpaid position. I don't care that the market max is 200 or whatever. Man, pay the man 400.
If they're worth it.
Well, but maybe that draws out different level of candidate.
I agree.
So
I think that's a big problem that we have right now.
I think
there's a lot of people that would run that are well qualified that would have to take a massive pay cut.
I think that's not specific to city government. I think that's everything. I've looked at the city manager model. Let the mayor, who may or may not be versed in this, be an ambassador, and a city manager do it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Just giving that as an example.
Yep.
So just reinvent yourself. But, okay, back to that. Gates never mentioned, all right? But if you do math, and I'll let you do a math at 1,000 kids, and you charge those 1,000 kids $50, okay? That's $50,000. If you charge per head, you don't charge the kid, but you charge per head of attendance to support that child, a gate, which was not mentioned in the original document.
Right.
According to what the mayor said. I haven't looked at the original document because I'm not going to get caught up in all that.
Yeah.
I'm talking about intent.
Right.
There was no gate mentioned. Concessions were mentioned, and that makes sense because that's a voluntary decision. But if you have a car full at a basketball and you're charging $3 a head, and it's grandparents or whatever that looks like, well, over a 10-game season, it's actually costing the family double.
Right.
So what if
It's not free. It's not free.
And it's not even in the original agreement, according to what the mayor said. I don't know that to be true. I'm actually trusting the mayor's words.
Yeah, I wonder when that came into existence.
I have no idea. And I'm not saying it shouldn't have been in existence. I'm just telling you, just think about it from the math. Now, I understand we have to upkeep facilities, and I don't know why that was in the original agreement, but maybe it should in a new agreement, or maybe we should just constantly evolve and evaluate, which is what I think, and this is what the real important thing is to me right now. This sports advisory commission or council or committee or whatever that needs to be called, it's a big deal, because I actually think if we have that in place, that office, that seat, and the community both have a layer of protection. Because it's a group of stakeholders. Does that make sense to you?
Well, and accountability. One of the biggest things.
Accountability rhythms.
Yeah. So, kind of to one of your points that we were talking about a little bit, the baseball boosters and some of the other boosters that have.
Which seem to be going well.
Yeah, but the reason why those happened, this is my opinion, but this is backed up by many conversations with many people involved over the last 20 years. And I believe that this is why the AMP was incredibly hesitant about having the city run anything with the new sports complex. And the problem is because nobody has the confidence that tournaments and other things can be ran at a high level at the current city or city stars. Or when I say current, there's the current one is yet to be seen, but current, recent, and in the past, a lot of frustration at the level of the way things were run. You know, people would come in to play in a soccer tournament. You would bring your family, you'd get a hotel room, you'd pay for dinner on Friday night, expecting to play some games on Saturday. We'd get a little sprinkle. Your anticipation is, okay, once the showers are by, we're gonna go start playing games. That wouldn't happen. The games would be canceled for the entire day. So you're like, okay, man, we're gonna really have to, play a bunch tomorrow on Sunday. Oh no, by the way, they're canceled for the entire weekend. And that was happening time and time again. So what happened was people quit coming. People quit investing in Jonesboro and in Jonesboro tournaments if they were ran by City Stars or the city or whatever, because the confidence of the ability to actually play games became nothing. And so that was the same with baseball. And so baseball said, listen, we can't be an effective organization if we have zero control in how many games we play on a specific weekend that we bring in people from outside. So that's why the baseball boosters became the baseball boosters.
So for a different reason, but same avenue.
Same avenue, same, and the lack of confidence that existed there. And so, and I'm not putting words in your mouth, but I have talked to some other people that have been involved with Revolution over time, and that was the same sentiment. Like, hey, we would try to have a tournament. Next thing we know, we've got 100 teams here signed up, and they canceled the entire weekend because we had some showers, overnight Friday to Saturday. And don't get me wrong, we have some issues with the fields. There are massive issues with the fields.
Which we had that was done.
Now, did you say it was paid for? Like you'd already secured the funds?
No, I hadn't accepted the check.
Right.
I wouldn't do that.
Right. Until you had an understanding.
Because let me tell you something. If you wrote me a check for $400,000, me personally, I can't speak on anybody else, but if you wrote me a check for $400,000 and then I turn it over and it goes away, you're not calling them, you're calling Matt.
Right. I
grew up with these people, man.
Yeah. And you're asking for something big for the city. And again, the confidence, and I think that just goes again to the understanding that the confidence level of you had to have checks and balances, contracts, things signed before you ever went and accepted that money. We come to find out, and this is Jeremy, this is not Matt, but come to find out, I truly believe that money was given and there was no accountability, no accounting, and so forth. And I do have a couple of questions for you. You may or may not know, but I'll let you continue to finish this, and then I'll ask you these questions about some other things that I believe was kind of funneling through City Stars that made me scratch my head.
All right. So there you have it. We were able to raise just under $1 million in agreements, 400 roughly as a one-time, the balance on a yearly basis, and arrange for events to come to Jonesboro that will have both impact and reduce cost for area families and so forth. So have impact and reduce cost for area families.
Oh. And this goes to, not to interrupt you again, but this goes to Jerry's.
So I want to have a conversation. You're not interrupting me, man.
This goes to Jerry Morgan's
That's right.
point.
His numbers were better. We actually, in our proposal, we actually shot it low because we wanted to be conservative in everything.
Yeah.
We shot the number we needed high that could be reduced, whether we took over City Stars, not City Stars, whether we accepted staffing, maintenance, all that. It was all scalable. We shot the impact number low, and Jerry showed, based on their research, that it was higher.
Yeah, right, which wasn't happening. There was no impact happening based upon the current structure of what was happening with soccer. So, okay, go ahead.
However, no contracts have been signed, no paperwork, just handshakes and ideas of what can make a lasting impact. We cannot get comfortable with accepting money without knowing it would be well managed, facilities maintained, and programmed properly for our community. That's what we've been working on since January and making some significant progress, but we have reached a stalemate. I was hired to be a catalyst, a spark that comes from friction. And I know there have been some changes that have caused that, but our heart has been in the right place. By no means do I speak for the board in their conversations or interactions, but I can say I've become uncomfortable with the mixed message responses or lack thereof from those in positions of authority. And it just doesn't fit with the things I personally would like to align with philosophically. After agreeing to their timeline, there has been more than enough grace period for me. Maybe this will be the nudge that helps, or maybe not. However, with no contract signed, it gives the city the ability to pursue their investment at the highest level, both financially and in infrastructure. My hope is that it is even higher than the numbers and commitments listed above. So above the 4 million, above the 5 million, above the million.
Right.
The city has had this under their umbrella, or at least the caretaker, again clarifying, or at least the caretaker, for a long time now. And I trust our city's elected officials and leaders have a plan to significantly increase their level of investment for competitive soccer. Now, I actually feel that about everything, but I was tasked with soccer in this conversation.
Right.
I think if there was a board for basketball, they would have got if I was the executive director, clearly.
Yeah.
What is clear is that the city's level of commitment has the greatest impact for our youth and economically for the community, especially when this thing is on the verge of exploding into something on a much larger scale. That being said, we have run out of time on my watch, and I am stepping aside to get out of the way of the city's vision and their prolonged timeline. Hopefully, the next person up can get this deal across the goal line. I use goal line because of soccer.
Yeah.
I thanked a few people, I don't want to mention their names. I keep thinking of one of my favorite acronyms. Coaches love acronyms. As I write this email, and I think it speaks volumes to all parties involved, pride and guts, personal responsibility in daily effort, pride, guts, a genuine urge to succeed. Now, I actually don't chase success, I chase significance. And it's important to me, and I think the youth, the mayor said this, I think the youth is important to him. What if we could have reinvented this thing, right? Which is now tarnished. It's remarkable that we're in this place to me.
It's sad. It's incredibly sad.
I will return to the sidelines as a supporter and dad, cheering, encouraging, and trying to empower your kids just as much as I do for mine if we are ever on the same field. And then continue to rev up, again, One Jonesboro. I love Jonesboro because the O-N-E in there, that's the marketing, that's the recruiting.
There you go.
I just love it. So that's that. Now, I will tell you this before you ask me your questions. There are some, with the Sports Advisory Commission, there are good questions. Like when I went to that meeting the other day and I actually prepared something for them that I was going to read. I've never read a speech, but I've never been involved in this type of speech. So these are really valid points. But in respect, out of respect for the chair, Chris Gibson, he said, I don't want to talk about anything in the past. I want to, whatever. I said, okay, some of these things are not relevant. It was just using to educate of where I think we can go and why, but I didn't do that. So I didn't read any of it. And then another programmer, I didn't expect, who I care about this guy. I didn't expect to be not interrupted, and not objected, but inserted himself into my comments. I'd never seen that. I did see it on Tuesday night when you got inserted. That was my first time ever, so I wasn't prepared for that. So then I pivoted because I do care so much about that guy specifically and getting this thing right, and tried to answer his question, but he asked a very good question. And I think that it's possible that some of the responsibilities, not elimination of roles, but some of the responsibilities to lighten their load, to maybe they become facilities programmers or they substitute in for anything that we can't source out, but I don't have all the answers. This is not a Matt Daniel. This is not a Matt Model. I can say that this is not a Matt Modeleski. We're not trying to be right. We're trying to get it right. We don't have all the answers. We don't even have all the questions. That's why it's important to have a group, not one person, of stakeholders. And I think that that's important to have those three. I think there's three entities, and I reference that. But so as I did think about that because I care about that, and I think about I'm always self-evaluating. That's what I went back. That's why I went back. After that, I thought, oh no, what if I have set us back? Because I think there are three types of people. There are people that work hard at the system. There are people that work the system hard. And there are people at their best that do a little bit of both. I actually think there are two types of leaders, or alphas, if you will. There's an alpha that says, come on, I got all of us. And then there's an alpha that says, come on, I won't let you down. I used to be, when I was younger, I mean, you watched me play, I was the first one. Come on, I got everybody, let's go.
Right.
I've evolved as I've matured and I've had a family and I've learned more in my experiences. I've actually evolved into the second one. I was worried I let our city down. So I immediately went and self-evaluated. I'm always evaluating. I probably self-evaluate too much. And then I look back and I go, wait a second. Here are my words.
Right.
So that's how I arrived at that. And these are all good questions that I think the Sports Advisory Commission, which is my primary focus, again, I'm not upset with the mayor. I didn't even reference the mayor. Nothing. It's okay. And I'm okay that he mentioned me, but I just wanted to give it its due diligence because I think it's drastic. This is the most important, impactful, maybe conversation because of how much it affects outside my family. So many people for such a long time, because what if the mayor in 25 years can look back and say, look what they did 25 years ago. That's what he referenced earlier. What if we could do that? And we had a lasting impact on that. This is hugely important. Now, clearly, I was told the guy that spoke the other night, I was told he's from Little Rock. I don't know if that's true or not.
It is. The young man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, this is outside Cray County. We need to be the thermostat. I'm worried about, I hope this doesn't go national. You may, because of the podcast.
Well,
You probably have both and, right?
yeah, I mean, the podcast is really for one thing, and that is to make those that pay attention, give them the resources to get information. And I'm not always right. I mean, there's times that I'm wrong, and there's times that I'm right that I wish I was wrong.
Yeah.
And the more we reach, the better, obviously. But I don't, we don't need to hang Jonesboro's issues across the United States. I think you and I could definitely agree on, what goes on in Jonesboro. Let's just keep it in Jonesboro, but let's improve on it. We don't need to go backwards. We don't need to ignore things. We don't need to. I am a blame guy in the sense of I really want our elected officials to do better. I really want them to pay attention. I am a massive, massive oversight guy. I believe that if you're elected to do just that's what you should be doing. I think that's what you should be focusing on. We get away from, with all of the committees and all of the other stuff that we have, we get away from some of the fundamentals, and that is oversight. And I believe that's kind of put us in the situation we currently are with City Stars and so forth. You reference it in other ways, and that is, you started to feel uncomfortable because you couldn't get any real answers and real understanding about what was happening. Had we had the appropriate oversight, had we had the appropriate contracts, had you been given a contract between the city and City Stars and you and City Stars with a clear understanding, because that's what is supposed to happen when you start exchanging money, especially at the level that had been exchanged, especially with a 501c3, any of those big donations. There's supposed to be a clear understanding, and in most cases, the cities, when they give that amount of money, are able to actually dictate exactly what those funds are going towards. Now, they never brought a board in, they never brought Matt in, they never brought anybody in order to help facilitate any of that. They literally just wrote a blank check, they gave it to an individual, he deposited it, and then it was free-for-all from there. I believe, and this is according to Jeremy, I believe you came in and started doing some things. It didn't take you long. I know of the Daniel family is of high integrity. I can verify that because I know your dad incredibly well in our interactions. I mean, he and I don't go to lunch or any of that stuff, but we've had hundreds of interactions. So when I saw you in a very short window, say, wait a minute, something's going on here. I knew that something's going on here. And I knew that, and some of us knew something was going on here anyways, but you doing that brought a little bit more teeth and a little bit more understanding into this crazy situation. I think we could, you mentioned it earlier in the very beginning of this is deeper than soccer. This is deeper than maybe just a sports program. I can, not to draw you into what I'm doing, but I think that we could draw lots of circles around a lot of our groups and entities and things that we do. And I'm going to ask you that in just a minute of things that we're doing throughout the city that draws all of this into the same situation of the gray lines, the misunderstandings, and not 100% sure why. But man, I really appreciate what you said. You got anything else before I start asking you some questions?
Yes. So a couple things, I made some notes on this, and I want to look back at notes because I think these things are important. You talk about oversight. We were inviting them into oversight and transparency of accounts. We wanted them to have full access to our accounts.
Yeah.
Or teach us how to do that. Y'all are clearly doing it. So teach us how to do that. Like we were looking for,
you thought they were clearly doing it. So anyways.
Well, I mean, we trusted that they were.
Right.
And I'm not even gonna, I don't even want to, like, whatever. They got a plan now. Surely they have a plan. So anyway, and again, I know here I am speaking with my hands and all. I'm not upset. I just wanted to give it its due diligence.
Right.
I just think we need to evaluate and evolve.
Yeah.
Just like, how did we go from typewriters to computers? How did we get the new 911 stuff? Because we found a better way. Let's say there was no illegal activity. We can still break up.
Right.
We can just say, thanks for what you did. The mayor talked about it's worked for 25 years well. I don't know how we know that.
Right, by what metrics?
It's been so when you consult, you're looking for KPIs, key performance indicators. What is that indicator? Maybe it's worked well for 20 years and it hadn't the last 5 or whatever the number is, or maybe it's just survived. But
I think it's just survived.
It doesn't even matter to me. Even if it was perfect, why don't you evaluate and evolve?
Right.
And maybe, like this, let's say that our proposal was the worst idea on the planet. Maybe. The Sports Advisory Commission catches all that. This takes care of that. And it gives a layer of protection. Like, let's say it was the worst thing and we invented this thing and we were trying to rake the city over the coals, which we were not trying to do. Let somebody else do that. This Sports Advisory Commission may say, they get all the information, and what do we need, where are our blind spots? Which, by the way, I think if we had said initially, whoa, this is a blind spot, we're going to attack this.
Right.
I'm not sure if we're indicted or not, or if we're under this cloud, but I know as a people, we could have rallied the troops and galvanized.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm a coach. I think we can play harder. I think we can play smarter, and we're certainly not playing together.
Yeah, I think that's a full 100% the issue. In today's times, and this in politics, and I don't know why this would even be a political thing, but it has turned into somewhat of a political thing, or people are trying to make it a political thing. But this is about this has always been about those that have been involved about youth sports and what can we do for kids. I can tell you, and this has nothing to do with you or Revolution or anything else, but I can tell you that I've had people involved in this over the last 20 years reach out to me and say, this was started for the right reasons and very quickly turned into a money grab situation and so forth. And they're talking about back in like 08 and 12 and 15. And so, and not trying to, I don't know if that's true. I don't know the timelines of when this became whatever it is now. And, but you referenced something a minute ago, and you said commitment, the city's commitment. And what really frustrates me when you say that, not with you,
It's okay if you're frustrating me. I get
with
it.
the city, is because you brought this to them a year ago.
Not me. And I'm not the
Well,
one
you,
that,
you resigned a year ago.
yes.
Yes.
So I
yes.
don't want to take credit for, before I came on board,
Oh yeah, there was issues about
yeah.
this.
So I don't,
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is
yeah,
not,
yeah.
I don't want to take
It started in
credit for this.
23, we know.
Right, wrong, or indifferent.
Right.
I don't want to think that this
But
was.
what I'm saying is it started happening. 2024 started happening. There was a handful of reaching out, and then you resigned, and you were kind of the domino that started it. Whether you want it or not, you started kind of the domino of everybody saying,
Okay.
"Wait a minute, I'm out." So, and I think that's because of how much you're respected. And then the rest of the people are like, wait a minute, if Matt's jumping out, I'm jumping out. It just looks like that's what happened to me. The other thing is myself, Patty Lack, and some other people also came to the after this started happening, we came to city council meetings and we had this conversation. And what was really frustrating, with the exception of maybe 2 people on the city council, everybody else didn't care. They didn't act on this stuff. And I think that's part of their big frustration is that they listened to several different people. They all got your letter. They all heard what we had to say. And then some collapsing. And then a narrative was painted, in my opinion, by the mayor, an incorrect narrative, because the mayor doesn't like egg on his face. And so there was a painted narrative. And that was everybody's against the mayor. This is about the mayor, and this is why this is going on. So they all listened to it, and come to find out, and after they're listening to it, things still continue to kind of pile up.
Right.
As last summer went, and then we go into the fall, and lo and behold, we have an FBI investigation. Now, and I've got friends that are involved on the city council and so forth and so on, and they understand where I'm coming from when I say this, and they'll be the first to tell you too that they wish they started listening a long time ago. But had they done what they were supposed to do, oversight, had the mayor done what they were supposed to do to make sure that anything that they entered had oversight, contracts, things like that, if they would have took any of this serious, there would have never been an investigation.
I tend to lean that way. Your final statement, whatever all that stuff you said, that I tend to lean, you have to wonder. I'm not saying there wouldn't have been, but we would have looked like an active participant.
That's right.
In the solve.
That's right. The city would have been on the right side of that investigation.
Listen, I all the time, people, even as executive director or just in my normal life, they'll say, man, we got this going on, okay, what's the solution? Or is there anything going on good for you today? Because I'm a guy that deals in hope.
Right, and I'm gonna jab a couple times through you, and I know that you don't want to take
Through
the
me?
jabs through what you're saying.
Oh,
So,
so be careful, man.
yeah, 100%. We it should have been rallied together, and instead, what happened, and what was so, in my opinion, and you won't use these terms, but Jeremy Terrell's going to use, what I thought was disgusting, what happened this Tuesday night was the mayor didn't get up and say anything about how do we rally together, how do we take what just happened and make it right, how do we, yes, there were some mess ups, including me. Now what do we do to move forward? Now he keeps saying let's move forward, but that means he wants to forget what happened in the past. Well, you don't forget what happens to the past, and you're able to move forward if you don't address those major components that got you to where you're currently at. So it's so frustrating to me to say, let's just move forward when there was nothing addressed, and we duplicate the same things that got us in this position in the first place. And that's what's really frustrating to me. And to hear him get up and start naming names, all the past mayors, all the past directors. So now we're all scratching our head going, okay, well, was the past mayor involved? Was the past directors involved? Because we know something's going on, because the FBI doesn't get involved for no reason. I want to stress this. People, some very, very small, but keep coming and saying, we don't know that anything's even happening. Something's happening because FBI doesn't get involved when nothing's. Their close rate is 97.7%, and the only reason why that 2.3% doesn't happen is because of a technicality. Usually, somebody didn't, cross a box right. So, I believe when it comes out, it's going to be bad. I do want to start asking you a couple of different questions too, because I think you may or may not have an opinion on this, and you may have heard stuff, or you may have been involved with maybe some donations or stuff. But there is things that were ran through City Stars. There were parades ran through City Stars.
I've heard that.
There's trails that ran through City Stars.
I've heard mention of that, but I know less about that than I do the other.
So we're doing some investigation. I actually had some people this morning, early. I don't sleep, so I was up early, and we went back and forth on some stuff with apparently somebody else that doesn't sleep. But there's very vague numbers ever put in from City Stars, so the trail is really, really small. So it's hard to find out. Now I found in one filing in 23 that wasn't filed till 25, but that the money from that was given to the city funneled through the city straight into the trails, the Walmart fund. And but you made the reference that you may know a little bit more about the parades than the trail. So what's your perspective on the parades?
Really think about this. Legal issues or no legal issues. It was said in the Public Services Committee by one of the Park Advisory Board, I believe, don't get me on a technicality, somebody in the room that was in the big square tables.
Right.
That the intent, she actually knew the intent. I don't know if it's because she was part of it. I don't really know. But it was for the sports of basketball, maybe volleyball. I don't know if soccer was in. I don't want to get muddled up in all that.
So that the money from the parade was going to go back towards the sports programs?
No, the original intent of the original agreement of City Stars.
Right.
So then I am sent a screenshot of post-Christmas parade that is a picture that the Christmas parade people, whoever that is, volunteers, I guess, I don't know, are handing over a check to City Stars. In that picture are some people I don't recognize. It's the parks director at the time and the current mayor accepting this check of $5,000 or whatever. Now I think it's interesting that they give to City Stars, that's what they chose to give that back to. That's interesting to me. But that's their prerogative of their committee or whatever that looks like. There's a big discrepancy between committee and commission and what they could. I learned that the other day. I'm learning a lot, man. But here's the problem. The one thing that we've said for sure, they were separate accounts, City Stars in the city. If we are running money through the general account or a specific account of that entity, and we can have access to pay for things that we need to me, legally or not, just to the layman's guy, that shows control of money. That would be alarming. That would be, it's already troubling. Because I got another thing on this post. The heading on this post says something about Jonesboro Parks and Recreations, '(S), possessive, City Stars program. Man, I can't figure out which it is. Are we or aren't we?
Right.
That's just confusing. Now, if whoever was in charge of this was directed, run it through this account so we don't have to keep up with accounting, So
Well, and I believe that that's a lot of it. I mean, it's called pass-through.
Yeah, you know more. I don't know all that.
It's called pass-through, and pass-through is basically what you just said is that a city is given money and they literally turn around and funnel it into another entity. Now, when that happens, so much scrutiny is supposed to happen. I just did an FOIA, so we'll find out what kind of scrutiny there was for that kind of stuff. But I don't believe there is any. Kind of like with the trails, I believe that the trail money was given and passed through to City Stars because we wouldn't have to bid on it. We wouldn't have to have control over it. We wouldn't have to have these unbelievable regulations that the city has in order to get whatever it is that we wanted to get done. Now, what's incredibly frustrating to me in my hawkness of what I do is what's best for the taxpayers. You know, that's always my goal is the taxpayers being represented appropriately here. That doesn't happen. When you funnel money, when you pass through money, when you do whatever that had a special intent that is supposed to be attached to an incredible amount of scrutiny and exactly what it's supposed to be done with that money, and you don't attach any of that and you just funnel money through, and then you're looking for accounting, you're looking for responsibility, you're looking for whatever, which is you've alluded to that a couple of times. How do you know how to improve? How do you know
that, right,
where we're at? How do you know
whether it was run well?
That's right.
Right.
There is no. It's kind of like to your point on City Stars, just soccer. So let's just take it right back to soccer real quick. How many did we have in 15 sign up? How many do we have in 16, 17, 18, 19, 20? How many kids did we have signed up? What did we do right when it was high? What did we do wrong when it was low?
That's right.
All of those things should have been accounted for because of the money that came through grants or whatever it was, but that's how you run an organization. I know that you guys probably took some metrics there to improve on performance, drawing kids in, whatever it may be, but there was nothing being done that I have been able to find, and I have asked, I have requested, I have dug in, I've met with people where none of those metrics were ever being met, and that is clearly rests on the shoulders, in my opinion, of whoever's in charge of this situation and the money flow from the city. And it's taxpayers' money. I don't care where it goes. When it goes somewhere, you have that control. You're in a situation where I think that you saw things happening really fast at a level that maybe a lot of people didn't. I mean, it's clear because people had questions for a long time. I think you were just like, wait a minute, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, you can clarify this, but I think that pretty rapidly you were like, wait a minute, this is the inaction, the not knowing who's responsible, no structure beyond your structure, all the things that I feel like made you uncomfortable, and yet you're still trying to make things better. But your threshold was like, wait a minute, I'm out. None of these metrics are here. You're a metric man. Performance, those types of things. You probably even do it with your kids and your household and all that
Sure.
good stuff. Are we better today than we were yesterday? But
Right.
You saw none of those happening beyond what you had control of, and all the current metrics that were supposed to flow into you to help you do your job, you had no understanding, no idea what was going on, and didn't even know whether you went and talked to Danny, the city, or what was going on in order to help you guys be successful because you didn't know the contracts and anything else that happened.
Right. So just one point, not of contention, but clarification. I was brought on to be the catalyst. We had a group of volunteer board members that we've lost for our community now.
It's going to be hard to get them back if we ever can. They probably
yeah.
don't want to get involved again.
Yeah.
So, that's the lack of trust that people were talking about.
They care a lot about the community. They had an idea of, they worked hard, long hours on all this stuff.
On their dime.
Well, yeah, 100%.
Free time.
Yeah. Yeah. So I may have been the conduit to lay it out proper. This wasn't me. I just laid it out based on my 3 months, the things that I learned about things that had been passed and what could be moving forward.
Right.
And I deferred to the power. of authority,
Right.
out of respect. I didn't dress anybody down. I didn't accuse anybody of anything. I didn't name any names. I don't even know that I named positions.
Yeah. Well,
I even said not confident. You know,
I'm 100% sure in your lifetime, and maybe I get this wrong and I just swung at the freaking air, but you have probably read books, you've been to places, you've done things that talk about leadership.
I actually speak about leadership quite often. I mean, when I get asked to speak,
Yeah.
whether it's at national recruiting conventions or whatever, it is leadership and motivation.
Yeah. So, with that being said, and not to put you on the spot, and I know you're not political, you don't want to be in that political world, but I've got to ask, like, are we being shown leadership in this current situation that is going on? Do you see it?
So that's subjective.
I agree.
I can give you example after example, but I'm not really going to get into that. But
Or could the leadership be better?
leadership can always be better. My leadership could always be, your leadership could always be better. And to be clear, we're all coaches. You coached your children how to tie their shoes. You know, I'm coaching mine how to make a bed, how to, you know, we're all coaches. The leader of our city, I view as the head coach. Comes with a lot of weight, but that was a voluntary role to insert yourself in.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I think you chose to be, I think you choose in leadership to be accountable for all that. Whether it's legal or not legal, I ran home thinking, what had I done on something I laid out over a year ago? Because I think you're always self-evaluating and evolving. You know, the mayor said the other night that I will not change my integrity and I will not lie. That's what he said. Okay. Are we doing that or not? I trust the leadership of the council to sort through that. I voted for the mayor. I'm not saying his beliefs are incorrect or correct. I'm not accusing him of anything right now. I'm not. It's not who I am. I'm just telling you I just wanted clarity and to clarify these. I have some things that I am confused about that I wish we knew the answer to. And I made some points and I'm taking notes as, you know, trying to keep up without distracting what's going on. But I can tell you this, you know, there's really only one question that matters with anything you deal with to me. Is it worth fighting for? And if it is, you climb. And so, like, I'm always thinking about climb, and we're talking about, you know, my oldest daughter and my youngest daughter may get involved in, Steele and Brett may get involved in pageants and having initiatives. And so I started thinking about rethinking the structure over the last year and a half of what would that look like? And I think we do have to move forward. But right now we're just going through mud and then we're backing up and we're going through mud and then we're backing up and going through mud trying to move forward. At some point you got to get towed out. And to find a new path, you have to have a new starting point, a new perspective. So maybe the indictment helps with that. Maybe, I don't know. I can't speak on that. But if it is worth fighting for, frustration and all that, and I believe this city is, I love this city, man. I would come up with a new initiative. Climb. If it's worth fighting for, you climb. And I thought about those things, and I even wrote it down. Communication, leadership, initiative, membership, and belief. What if we could focus on those things? And that's what I'm choosing to focus on what I think I can help with the Sports Advisory Commission, is the next 25 years.
Yeah.
I have no idea who's going to be the mayor at that point.
Right.
So I think that's what I view leadership as. Dealing in hope. Dealing in not settling. Don't settle for jump shots. Don't settle for relationships. Whether it's in your own life or your business life, don't settle.
What's your key leadership? If you were going to put three key leadership characteristics, whatever you may want to call it, what would they be? I'm putting you on the spot, and
I'm trying to digest that. And
I'm trying to. So my point is this, and in full transparency. So I'm not trying to get the mayor or get anything else. I'm a firm believer in. If you go to the computer today and you type up leadership, okay, you're going to get all kinds of things.
Sure.
And I agree with some, I don't agree with any. If you go back to 1995 and you type in leadership, you're going to get a couple of different things, a very small selected few. One of them is Franklin Covey. Franklin Covey had an unbelievable structure of what leadership looks like. And I know us getting a little bit older and things like that, we wish we could take some.
Speak for yourself, man.
We could go back a little bit and be like, wait a minute, this is what built us. This leadership structure is what built us to where we're at today. Why? If it's not the right leadership structure anymore, how did it get us to where we're at today? And leaders come with qualities that, in my opinion, are undisputable. And now, can you learn some other things? Absolutely. But if you're the leader and the main leader, I believe that it comes with some undeniables. And I know you're not here for this, and so this is according to Jeremy, but we have a leadership problem. And I'm not saying
I didn't say that.
That's right.
Okay.
It's not. I'm not saying that it's just with the mayor. We have a lot of leaders throughout our town, but we have to at some point in time demand that leaders be leaders. It's same with the family roles and everything else. I mean, if you don't have a leader in your family, you're a family of chaos. And if you don't have structures that help you, grow your kids and things like that, we're raising, the next generation of hooligans.
Man, I believe in that wholeheartedly.
And so, and there's that's been since the beginning of time. And we find ourselves here today, and I just truly believe had we had better leadership through this, we wouldn't be where we're at. And that, again, that's according to the Pulse of Jonesboro. That is not according to Matt. He is out of that part. But I believe, to me, this interview has shed a lot more light on what I already knew, but have given me some more understanding into what we need to do to move forward. Now, I plead 100%, if the mayor came out today and he said, let's back up, let me start over, this is where I fall into what we did that is wrong. I won't ever let it happen again. We'll put in the mechanisms to make sure something like this never happens again. Your money, taxpayers, means more to me than anything. To allow something like this to happen, we won't ever let it happen again, and we're putting in the mechanisms currently right now. I would be like, go for it. I would actually become team coach at that point in time. Now he's going to have to prove it to me. He's going to have to make sure that he puts, power to words. But that's what I want. I don't want him to step down. I don't want him, contrary to what people may think, I don't want him to step down, run away. But if you're not gonna be the leader that Jonesboro needs, if you're not gonna help us move to the next level, then it's time to get somebody else in. And again, that's Jeremy Terrell. It's not Matt Daniel.
Well, you asked me a question, so I want to give you a couple answers.
Sure.
First of all, every day's game day.
True.
There are no off days, not as a leader.
Yep.
That's what I would tell my players. You can have bad plays, you can make mistakes, but you can't have bad days and you can't have bad ways. E plus R equals O. Event plus the response equals the outcome. If you can't control the event that happens, somewhat, you can be blindsided by that. I was blindsided on Tuesday night.
Right.
On a small level. My response equals the outcome. If I respond negatively, which I don't feel like I've done, I'm just providing clarity. Yeah. Again, I'm not against the mayor. I have respect for the office. If I respond negatively, it's almost assuredly the outcome will be negative. If I respond positively, I have a better shot at the outcome being positive. Doesn't mean it will be, but it's my only shot. Preparation leads to celebration. If you don't want somebody to score 30 against you and that's your matchup, don't let them catch it. Play hard, act right. I was actually raised in my house by my family on the golden rule only said by a basketball coach, John Wooden. Consider the rights of others before your own feelings and the feelings of others before your own rights. And finally, team first wins, period. No matter what decisions have to be made, they're hard decisions. If you're making decisions with team first in mind about your program, your organization, with team first in mind, whether that's on game day, I used to tell my team this, on game day or Friday night at the club, if your decision is made based on team first wins, we're winning regardless of the score. So.
Love it. And I'm going to take that from him. I'm full disclosure. Jeremy will use that now for the next year. Team first.
So you don't have to take it as it's
right.
a gift. That's the way. Listen, Dad broke every huddle. My dad, we broke every huddle. Team first wins. Let's rock.
So, and I believe that that's why you are here, whether he says it or not. He's talking about the team of Jonesboro. We're talking about the team of Jonesboro. If the team of Jonesboro, if everything we do from this point forward is team first, meaning Jonesboro first, and all that we do, we're going to succeed. We're going to meet the next level. We're going to meet the challenges that are coming our way, and we're going to do it in a manner that I truly believe when we put the people first, when we put the team first, the players first, all of that good stuff, great things, wonderful things happen. I love the sports analogies. I can't even get close to him. He lives it, he breathes it, but I know that it's intertwined, and you can take so much from playing sports, being in sports, using those sports analogies to apply it into life and everyday experiences, whether it's at your home, running a government, whatever it may be. So I appreciate that. I appreciate those insights. Man, I appreciate you. Before we leave, is there anything you want to, that you haven't spoke about that you want to leave us with?
I mean, I'm like the normal. I have confusion, you know. I was confused that my name was brought up the other night. Again, and I've said this over and over, but I want to be clear. I don't have an agenda with that. I just wanted to provide clarity. The mayor, I don't assume that he would apologize for that. I don't expect him to. I don't need him to. It's okay. I just wanted to give its due diligence because, first of all, they're my words.
Right.
You know, I have the same confusion of everybody else. The thing is so intertwined that it's just interesting to me that, like, of all the things that were mentioned and refuted, the text that he said, I'm going to cancel revolution. How can you cancel something you don't have control over? Whatever the reasoning is, that's not been disputed. I don't understand how, for the City Star side of it, I was told they have a tax return that shows 0 employees. I'm not an accountant. I don't deal with the IRS, thank heaven, but then how are they functioning, right?
Right.
Now, I was paid as a 1099. I'm not talking about borrowed labor.
Right.
I don't understand. This is what I've yet to learn as I'm trying to evolve, right, and learn more about government. And like I said, city manager, what am I doing? I'm trying to learn.
Right.
That's not my MO, but I care so much about the city of, like, I just want to relook at the whole thing.
Yeah.
Pay structures, why wouldn't we do that? In every department. Like, if this stuff is going on in other departments, whether it's legal or not, we need to evaluate and evolve. I don't understand how a city employee can be placed on administrative leave if we don't
for something that they did with the 501c3 that didn't have anything to do with
I don't know
the
how.
city.
No, I just don't. I don't mean to make light because this is serious, man.
But I didn't think about that. That's a good one. Exactly, 100%. How does somebody get placed on administrative leave when it didn't have anything to do with the city?
Those are just things like, and these are things that have been said. Like, I don't understand the possessiveness of the Christmas parade. I don't understand if him saying he must be paying himself, I'll look into it. How could you possibly look into it? You don't have any control over that.
Right.
So I just don't want to get caught up in all, I'm confused in that. Like those things, I can't wait for this to, I wish it didn't exist, but I need clarity around that.
Yeah.
Here's what I will say. And let me read you this. Let me wrap up with this. This is what I was going to read, because this is my point.
Okay.
And I was going to tell them, this may appear like I'm reading because I am reading. This is not typically how I speak, but I'm reading for the sake of it. And I didn't read this out of respect for what Chris Gibson wanted the agenda to be. Okay. Right. And then I was interrupted. So I was trying to drive home these points. I was trying to answer a guy I care about who is clearly frustrated. Everybody's frustrated, man.
Right.
The mayor's frustrated. Rightfully so. For whatever reason. First of all, thank you for not only listening to the community, but also taking actionable steps to a solution. I'm a solution guy.
Right.
While this is a storm we are all sheltering against currently, it is also an opportunity for us to not only survive, but to have significance for generations to come. That's what I'm about. I don't believe this will be an overnight quick fix by any stretch of the imagination, but with proper structuring and systems, the pathway will lead us to proactive progress for our youth. The word expert, I believe, gets thrown around pretty loosely these days, along with others. For example, transparency. So while I don't consider myself an expert, I am experienced. And this is why I felt an obligation to help support a solution-based conversation. This is the conversation again, Public Services Park Advisory Board the other day.
Yeah.
I am in support of a balanced board or commission, whatever the legal term needs to be, of the three entities that are our major stakeholders: AMP, Public Facilities, and City Council, which represent the community.
Right.
This could be members of these entities or their designees. Whatever legal jargon or language it needs to be that's legal and proper, I'm for that. I don't want to be clear about that. I believe this group can help accomplish whatever goals the city has for itself. Are we trying to make money in youth sport or just sports tourism or both? Proposal was an awful idea, whatever the vendor model, whatever that needs to be. Acting as a decision-making body. I actually think the Parks and Rec Board should answer to that. And then they can, whether it's Public Services, can take the park side of it, whatever.
Yeah.
But they can decide all that.
Right.
This group can decide all that.
Right.
This is not Matt's board or the other Matt's board. Or
Right.
To the size of this board, I think it's important to keep in mind how to educate the board, whether that is through sport representation or through workshopping the needs and blind spots that exist in all sports for all children. B, the amount of work that needs to be done and the time frame to which we hope to accomplish it. I believe the Parks Director should report to this board as it relates to sport. Additionally, the Parks Director could report on facilities and maintenance to the Public Works Committee or whatever that is, already established committee. I believe this alignment accomplishes three major priorities: shows trusted and authentic transparency, eliminates the operation of gray areas such as cities' claim to relationship with City Stars. It's a gray area.
Right.
At best.
Right.
It's not accusatory, it's just a gray area. The troubling speculation of the city Christmas parade ran through City Stars accounts, and the details of questioning that would surround that, if true. That's already troubling that that's out there, and the post is troubling. If that's true, that's disheartening to me.
Yeah.
No matter if it's legal or not. Which nobody cares about my feelings, and that's okay. I'm just telling you, eliminates misinformation. While I'm not convinced this is just a sports issue, I want to be clear that it isn't just a soccer issue. Soccer is just the group that had a board that got a peek behind the curtain. Therefore, that specific sport is just the squeakiest wheel currently. There is conversation about the type of support the Revolution Board was willing to commit was not for every child. That's plainly false. We were looking out for every child. We didn't have to take it on, as I mentioned.
Right.
We were willing to. While I'm not a soccer guy by nature, I was asked to be the executive director of the organization that was trying to help with soccer in our city. And our proposal included every child and ideally growing to invite more participation to not only our city, but also our region as a whole. I want to emphasize the information that hasn't been shared. The role of executive director was a paid position. I went through that already.
Right.
We gave a proposal. I've went through that already. But the number was presented. We were simply trying to become the new caretaker, similar to the structure of Jonesboro baseball booster model, similar, parallel. The only difference being the ask number, because the city did not run baseball as a City Stars program. 3, sets accountability rhythm to add a layer of protection for the citizens, the administration, and the vendors. While the elephant in the room is the Department of Justice investigation that is looming, the new commission and process will ensure all sports and all kids' needs are met, and everyone has equal access and opportunity within this new model. For example, if you're a basketball league and I'm a basketball league, and you have to pay money to rent and I don't, that's a big problem.
It's a big problem.
If that exists,
And it does. Go ahead.
I mean, I've heard that, right? So if that exists, this thing ain't over by a long shot.
Oh, yeah.
I shouldn't have said ain't. My wife will be mad at me about that. Apologize, sweetheart. We currently use the vendor model in some sports and even in just some instances within each sport, whether we are aware of it or not. Gave an example of that. My final thoughts are this. It is remarkably disheartening how this has been handled, and quite frankly, with the amount of time that was committed to searching for a solution. But the good news, the day for the rising tide to lift us all is here. Even if everything was going perfectly, it's never a bad idea to evaluate and evolve. I believe we would be doing ourselves a disservice not to listen and examine all models, even including an outsourcing vendor model, even keeping things as they are, coupled with the city supporting what we cannot find vendors to service. If done right, it raises the quality of sports programming and maximizes sports tourism both, that benefits our community, even if those are not involved in sport. Business owners,
Right.
which our city both needs and has committed to, on the Ridge and the turf at Joe Mack. I know none of you, with possibly the exception of our parks director, deal with this on a daily basis. I was a part of a group that worked extensively searching for answers to solve a tough situation. Since that time, a year ago, I have now studied other aspects and avenues on how to help our city. And while this particular new commission, or whatever that phrase, isn't a good fit for me, I am more than happy to be a thought partner, sounding board, and answer any questions today or moving forward. Thanks again. I did not read that. That's what I was going to read, because I want to be part of a solution, and that's it.
Perfect. Matt, man, I appreciate you. I think this interview is great. I appreciate you coming in. You're a good man.
I appreciate your heart, man. Like I said, we don't always align, and I wasn't going to do this.
Yeah.
But your platform is the one where you can have a simple conversation and people can read body language. I think they can read body language at council meetings too,
Right.
and words and all that. But I make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes.
100%. 100%.
My heart is in the right place, and I'm accountable for my own actions. So I just wanted to provide clarity to my words.
Yeah. Well, and to your point, and we'll leave it at that. Everybody makes mistakes. What I tell my kids all the time is the mistake doesn't define the individual. It's what the individual does after the mistake.
Response. E plus
So-
R equals O, buddy.
That's right. So again, appreciate you. Tell your dad I said hi, and we will see you guys later. Thanks for tuning in. Please like and share this.
We'll get through this, man.
That's right. And Jonesboro's a great place, great people. Matt's one of those great people. There's many more other involved in this that are great people. And I'm not saying anybody else that I disagree with isn't a great person. Again, what we just said is how do you respond? So I think we both can agree. We just want good response. So, in whatever form that is. And guys, I appreciate you. Take care. We'll see you soon.